Toxic people rarely respect the person who keeps explaining, arguing, or begging to be understood. They respect the person they can no longer manipulate. And the most powerful part? You don't need to become rude, aggressive, or toxic yourself. You just need to change how you respond. In this video, you'll discover silent moves that make toxic people think twice before crossing your boundaries, and slowly realize they no longer have the power they once had over you. Let's begin. 1. Stop making empty threats. One of the fastest ways to lose respect is to constantly announce consequences you never actually enforce. You tell someone, "If you ever speak to me like that again, I'm done with you." They do it again. You say, "Next time you disrespect me, I'm walking away." They disrespect you again. You threaten to block them, distance yourself, quit the situation, or stop helping them. But when the moment comes, you stay. And eventually, your words stop carrying weight. Toxic people pay attention to patterns. They don't just listen to what you say, they watch what happens after you say it. This is why empty threats are so dangerous. Imagine someone who keeps crossing your boundaries. Every time they do it, you become angry and make a dramatic announcement. "You're going to regret this. I'm never speaking to you again. This is your last chance." But the next morning, everything is back to normal. What did that person learn? They learned that your anger has no consequences. They learned that they can push you, wait for you to calm down, and eventually get access to you again. And once they learn that, they'll probably push even further. This doesn't mean you should become aggressive or start threatening people. In fact, the strongest approach is often the opposite. Say less, do less talking, make your boundaries clear, and then let your behavior enforce them. Instead of saying, "If you disrespect me again, I'm going to stop talking to you," you can simply say, "I won't continue this conversation if you speak to me that way." Then, if they continue, end the conversation. No screaming, no dramatic exit, no long speech. You simply follow through. That's what creates credibility. Think about it this way. A boundary without a consequence is often just a request. If you tell someone, "Don't speak to me disrespectfully," but continue engaging every time they do, they may eventually realize that your boundary isn't actually protecting you. But when your actions consistently follow your words, something changes. People begin to understand that you mean what you say. And this is especially important with toxic people, because they often test boundaries gradually. They might start with a small insult, then a disrespectful joke, then a favor they expect you to do. Then they cross another line. They're watching. They're trying to discover how much they can get away with. If you react strongly, but never change your behavior, they learn that your emotions are loud, but your boundaries are weak. If you remain calm and consistently enforce consequences, they receive a completely different message. You don't need to convince them that you're serious. Your actions prove it. There is also something important you need to understand about consequences. A consequence isn't revenge. It's not about hurting someone because they hurt you. It's about protecting yourself from repeated behavior. If someone repeatedly insults you, you don't have to insult them back. You can simply spend less time around them. If someone repeatedly betrays your trust, you don't have to expose them. You can stop giving them sensitive information. If someone repeatedly takes advantage of your generosity, you don't need to become cruel. You can stop making yourself available. That's maturity. You aren't trying to punish them. You're adjusting their access to you based on how they behave. And sometimes the most powerful consequence is silence. Not the childish silent treatment designed to manipulate someone, but genuine withdrawal from unnecessary conflict. You don't argue. You don't announce your departure. You don't post indirect messages online. You simply stop participating. This is where many people struggle. They want the other person to know exactly why they're leaving. They want an apology. They want recognition. They want the other person to finally admit, "You're right, I treated you badly." But you can't build your self-respect around someone else's confession. Sometimes you won't get an apology. Sometimes they will tell other people that you're the problem. Sometimes they'll accuse you of changing. Let them. Your responsibility isn't to control their interpretation of your boundary. Your responsibility is to enforce it. Imagine you've told a friend several times that you can't keep lending them money. They continue asking. You get frustrated and say, "If you ask me again, I'll never help you." Then they ask again, and you give them the money. You've just taught them something. Your boundary can be negotiated. Instead, imagine you simply say, "I don't lend money anymore." They ask again. You repeat, "I've already answered." They pressure you. You don't argue. You don't feel guilty. You don't explain your entire financial situation. You simply maintain the decision. Eventually, they understand that the answer isn't changing. That's what quiet strength looks like. The same principle applies to relationships, friendships, family, and work. Don't make promises about what you'll do. Make decisions about what you will tolerate. There's a huge difference. A threat says, "If you do this again, I'm going to make you suffer." A boundary says, "If this continues, I will remove myself from the situation." One is about controlling another person. The other is about controlling your own actions. And you can always control your actions. So the next time someone crosses a line, don't immediately explode. Don't make a dramatic announcement. Don't threaten something you're unwilling to do. Pause. Decide what consequence is actually necessary. Communicate it once, if communication is appropriate, then follow through. Because eventually, people stop testing the person whose words consistently match their actions. You don't need to say, "Respect me." You don't need to convince anyone that you're strong. You don't need to threaten anyone with what you'll do. Just become a person whose boundaries have consequences. Say less, follow through, and let your actions teach people how to treat you. 2. Keep your word. If you want toxic people to respect you, become extremely careful about what you say you will do, because your word is one of the most powerful things you have. Not because words are magical, but because people learn who you are by watching whether your actions match what comes out of your mouth. A person who constantly says one thing and does another becomes easy to dismiss. You say, "I'm not going to tolerate that anymore." Then you tolerate it. You say, "I'll be there." Then you don't show up. You promise you'll finish something. Then you keep making excuses. You tell someone you're going to leave. Then you stay. Eventually, people stop taking you seriously. And toxic people notice this, especially quickly. They pay attention to inconsistencies because inconsistency gives them room to manipulate you. If you want your presence to carry weight, start treating your own word like a contract. Don't make promises casually. Don't agree to things just because you're afraid of disappointing someone. And don't make dramatic statements when you're emotional. Instead, speak carefully. If you don't know whether you can do something, say, "I'll let you know." If you don't want to do something, say, "I can't commit to that." If you've made a decision, don't keep reopening it just because someone pressures you. This creates something incredibly valuable: predictability. People know where you stand. They know that when you say yes, you mean yes. When you say no, you mean no. And when you say you're going to do something, they can trust that you'll follow through. That doesn't mean you can never change your mind. Life happens. Sometimes circumstances change. Sometimes you make a commitment and later realize it isn't possible. That's different from repeatedly breaking your word because you were careless. If you genuinely can't keep a commitment, communicate early. Take responsibility. Don't disappear. Don't create 10 excuses. Simply say, "I told you I would do this, but I can't follow through. That's on me." Niad zi samant anjumni sids. Isadian frun sempel splem. Jumdanikan trismankend in yompisankend. It means taking responsibility when you aren't. Think about the people you naturally respect. chances are they're not necessarily the loudest people in the room. They're the people who are dependable. If they say they'll call, they call. If they say they'll show up, they show up. If they say they need space, they take space. If they say something isn't acceptable, they don't suddenly abandon that standard because someone gets angry. Their behavior is consistent, and consistency creates trust. Now imagine the opposite. Someone constantly says, "This is the last time," but it's never the last time. They say, "I'm done," but they're never done. They say, "Don't worry, I've got you." But when the moment comes, they're nowhere to be found. Eventually, their words become background noise. That's exactly what you don't want. Your goal isn't to speak more, it's to make your words mean more. One of the easiest ways to do this is to stop over-promising. You don't need to impress people with what you're going to do. You don't need to announce every goal. You don't need to tell everyone how successful you're about to become. Work quietly, then let the results speak. If you tell everyone you're going to build something and then spend months talking about it without doing anything, you've created an image without substance. But if you say little and consistently execute, people eventually notice. This applies to your personal boundaries too. Suppose someone constantly calls you late at night despite knowing you don't want to be disturbed. You tell them, "Please don't call me after midnight." They do it again. You complain. They do it again. You complain again. At some point, the message becomes meaningless. Instead, change your behavior. Don't answer. Silence the phone. Address it the next day if necessary. You're not trying to punish them. You're simply showing that your stated boundary has meaning. And here's the deeper lesson. Your self-respect is built partly by keeping promises to yourself. You tell yourself you'll exercise, but constantly skip it. You tell yourself you'll stop chasing someone, but keep checking their phone activity. You tell yourself you'll stop wasting money, but keep making impulsive purchases. You tell yourself you'll focus on your goals, but spend every night scrolling. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you teach yourself that your own decisions aren't reliable, and that affects your confidence. Confidence isn't just believing you're capable. It's having evidence that you can trust yourself. So start small. If you say you'll wake up at a certain time, do it. If you say you'll finish a task, finish it. If you say you're taking a break from someone, take the break. If you say you're going to stop entertaining disrespect, stop entertaining it. You don't need to transform your entire life overnight. Just start making your word dependable. And remember, keeping your word doesn't mean allowing people to hold you hostage to something you said years ago. You are allowed to grow. You're allowed to change your mind when circumstances change. You're allowed to say, "I was wrong." True strength isn't stubbornly keeping every promise no matter what. It's being intentional with your commitments and honest when you can't keep them. The goal is simple. Don't speak just to sound powerful. Speak with the intention of following through, because when your words consistently match your actions, you don't have to demand respect. People naturally start treating your words differently, and toxic people, especially, begin to realize something important. When you say something, you actually mean it. 4. Don't gossip about them. One of the quietest ways to gain respect around toxic people is to refuse to play their gossip game. When someone hurts you, your first instinct may be to tell everyone. You want people to know what happened. You want someone to confirm that you're right. You want to expose their behavior and make sure nobody gets fooled by them. But constantly talking about someone who isn't in the room can keep you emotionally connected to them. You're still thinking about them, still discussing them, still giving them your attention. And that's exactly what you need to stop. Toxic people often use gossip as a way to create alliances, divide people, and control how others see them. If you join that game, you become part of the same cycle you're trying to escape. Instead, stay quiet. If someone asks about the situation, be honest without turning the conversation into a character assassination. You can simply say, "We don't get along, so I keep my distance." That's enough. You don't need to list every mistake they've ever made. You don't need to reveal their private business. And you don't need to convince everyone that you're the good person. Your character should speak for itself. There's also something powerful about refusing to gossip because it makes you more trustworthy. People notice when you don't constantly reveal other people's secrets. They realize that if they tell you something privately, you aren't likely to repeat it. And, ironically, that can make people respect you more, even if they don't know exactly why. Imagine you're sitting with a group of people and someone starts talking badly about a person who isn't there. Everyone begins adding their own stories. You could easily join in. Instead, you stay neutral. Maybe you say, "I don't really know the full story," then change the subject. That small decision says something about your character. You don't need someone else's downfall to feel better about yourself. And you don't need an audience to validate your boundaries. Of course, there are situations where speaking about someone's behavior is necessary. If you're seeking genuine advice from someone you trust, explaining what happened can be healthy. If you're dealing with serious harassment, manipulation, or harmful behavior, getting support is important. The difference is your intention. Are you seeking help, or are you trying to destroy someone's reputation? One moves you toward healing, the other keeps you trapped in the conflict. The more you gossip about a toxic person, the more mental space you give them. You might think you're hurting them by talking about them, but you're often hurting yourself by keeping the story alive. Every conversation becomes another opportunity to replay the betrayal, another opportunity to become angry, another opportunity to wonder what they're doing now. You don't need that. Let the relationship end without turning it into a lifelong campaign. And don't worry if they gossip about you. You cannot control what someone says when you're not around. Trying to respond to every rumor will exhaust you. If someone genuinely knows you, they'll judge you by your actions. And if someone believes every negative thing they hear without ever asking you, you don't need to chase their approval. Let people think what they want. Keep your behavior consistent. Over time, character becomes difficult to fake. So the next time you're tempted to tell everyone what a toxic person did to you, pause. Ask yourself, am I sharing this because I need help or because I want revenge? If you need support, talk to someone trustworthy. If you want revenge, stay silent. Protect your peace instead. Because sometimes the strongest way to deal with a toxic person is to stop giving them free publicity in your life. Don't gossip. Don't spread their secrets. Don't turn every mutual friend into a messenger. Don't make their behavior your favorite topic. Distance yourself and keep moving. You don't have to talk badly about someone to prove that you're better than them. Let them talk. Let them create their stories. You stay focused on your character, your goals, and your peace. Eventually, the people who matter will see the difference. And when they do, you'll realize something important. Silence didn't make you weak. It kept you above the drama. 5. Become busy with your own life. One of the quietest ways to become harder for toxic people to control is to stop making them the center of your world. When your life revolves around someone's behavior, they automatically gain power over your emotions. If they text, your mood changes. If they ignore you, you overthink. If they criticize you, you spend hours defending yourself. If they create drama, your entire day gets consumed by it. That's exactly what you need to stop. Start building a life that is bigger than the person trying to disturb your peace. Work on your goals. Improve your health. Build your career. Learn new skills. Spend time with people who genuinely support you. Take your hobbies seriously. Create something meaningful. The more fulfilling your life becomes, the less space toxic behavior has inside your head. Imagine someone tries to provoke you with a message. If you have nothing going on, you might spend the next 3 hours thinking about the perfect response. But if you're focused on your work, training, business, family, or personal goals, their drama becomes a small interruption rather than the main event. That's real power. You're not ignoring them to make them jealous. You're simply too invested in your own life to constantly react to theirs. Toxic people often benefit from keeping you emotionally occupied. They want you thinking about what they said, why they said it, who they talked to, whether they're angry, whether they're jealous, whether they'll come back. You can spend your entire life trying to decode another person's behavior, or you can redirect that energy toward yourself. The moment you stop monitoring them and start developing yourself, the dynamic changes. You become less available for unnecessary drama. You don't respond instantly to every message. You don't drop everything because someone suddenly demands your attention. You don't spend every evening discussing someone else's problems. You have things to do. You have priorities. You have a future you're building. And that doesn't make you selfish. It makes you grounded. There's also something powerful about becoming genuinely fulfilled. When you're unhappy with your own life, you may tolerate unhealthy people because you're afraid of losing the connection. You might think, who else will I have? But when you have purpose, friendships, goals, and a sense of direction, you become less desperate for approval. You realize that one person's rejection doesn't determine your worth. One person's absence doesn't destroy your life. And one person's opinion doesn't define you. That's when toxic people lose leverage. They can't easily manipulate someone who isn't dependent on their attention. So don't make your goal to simply look busy. Actually become busy building something meaningful. Don't post pictures just to make someone wonder what you're doing. Don't pretend you're unavailable. Don't use your success as a weapon. Do the work quietly. Build a life you genuinely enjoy living. Wake up with things you're excited to accomplish. Spend your time around people who bring out the best in you. Give yourself goals that require your attention, because eventually you'll notice something interesting. The less you obsess over toxic people, the less important they become. And the less important they become, the less power they have over you. Your greatest response to unnecessary drama isn't always confrontation. Sometimes it's growth. While they're talking about you, you're improving yourself. While they're trying to provoke you, you're working toward your goals. While they're creating chaos, you're creating stability. While they're watching what you're doing, you're focused on becoming better than you were yesterday. That's the kind of silence that speaks loudly. And you don't have to announce your transformation. Let your lifestyle demonstrate it. Stop making toxic people the main character in your life. Put your energy back into yourself. Because when your life becomes full of purpose, progress, and peace, toxic people don't have to be defeated. They simply become irrelevant. 6. Control your facial expressions. One of the simplest ways to become harder to manipulate is to stop giving people immediate access to your emotions through your face. Your facial expressions reveal a lot. A raised eyebrow can show doubt. A smile can show approval. A frown can reveal irritation. A nervous reaction can reveal insecurity. And a shocked expression can tell someone that they've successfully gotten under your skin. Toxic people pay attention to these reactions. If they know exactly what makes you angry, embarrassed, jealous, or uncomfortable, they have information they can use later. So learn to pause before reacting. Someone makes a disrespectful comment, don't immediately roll your eyes. Someone tries to embarrass you, don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you panic. Someone says something ridiculous, you don't need to make a dramatic face. Stay calm. This doesn't mean becoming emotionless or pretending nothing affects you. It means learning to choose your response instead of allowing your first emotion to control you. Imagine someone makes a sarcastic comment specifically designed to provoke you. They look at you, waiting for the reaction. You simply look back calmly. Maybe you say, "Okay, now the energy changes." They expected emotional fireworks, but they got nothing. And when someone realizes they can't easily control your reactions, they lose one of their favorite tools. This is especially useful during arguments. When people become emotional, their facial expressions often reveal more than their words. They show frustration, fear, confusion, desperation, and sometimes the other person notices these reactions and pushes harder. So slow everything down. Take a breath, relax your face, speak at a normal pace. Don't rush to defend yourself. Don't allow someone else's emotional intensity to become your emotional intensity. There's also power in learning not to look overly impressed. Toxic people sometimes use bragging, status, money, connections, or achievements to make others feel inferior. They may expect you to react with admiration or insecurity. You don't have to. Be respectful, but remain grounded. You don't need to compete. You don't need to prove yourself. And you don't need to look intimidated. At the same time, don't turn this into a game of having a permanently blank expression. The goal isn't to look cold or emotionless. It's to become emotionally disciplined. You should still laugh when something is funny. Smile when you're happy. Show concern when someone is hurting. Express yourself naturally with people you trust. The difference is that your emotions are no longer being controlled by whoever happens to be standing in front of you. And here's the deeper lesson. You don't have to show every emotion the moment you feel it. You can feel anger without immediately displaying it. You can feel insecurity without acting insecure. You can feel offended without becoming offensive. You can feel nervous and still remain composed. That small space between feeling and reacting is where self-control lives. Think about how different you appear when you can remain calm while everyone else is losing control. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to make threats. You don't need to prove that you're angry. Your calmness itself becomes a message. You don't control me. And this is where emotional discipline becomes a form of quiet strength. When someone knows they can make you angry with one sentence, they know they have influence over you. But when they say something provocative and you simply pause, observe, and respond deliberately, you've taken that influence away. You aren't suppressing your emotions. You're refusing to let someone else decide what you do with them. There may even be moments when silence is more powerful than a response. Someone throws an insult at you. You don't rush to defend yourself. You simply look at them, remain composed, and continue what you were doing. That moment can communicate more than an angry speech ever could. It tells them that their attempt to provoke you didn't work. And the less rewarding you make their provocations, the less incentive they have to keep trying. So practice this in everyday situations. When someone annoys you, notice your first facial reaction. When someone criticizes you, take a second before responding. When someone tries to embarrass you, breathe instead of immediately reacting. When someone says something designed to make you jealous, don't give them the expression they're looking for. You don't have to win every interaction. You just need to remain in control of yourself. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember that your face doesn't have to tell the entire story. Pause, breathe, observe, then decide how you want to respond. Because when people can't easily read your emotional buttons, they have fewer ways to push them. Control your reactions, and you take back control of the interaction. You don't need an intimidating face. You don't need to look angry. You don't need to prove that you're strong. You simply need to remain calm enough to choose your response. Because sometimes the most powerful expression you can give a toxic person is no reaction at all. 7. Don't compete with their drama. One of the biggest mistakes you can make around toxic people is trying to outdo them at their own game. They raise their voice, so you raise yours. They become disrespectful, so you become even more disrespectful. They start an argument, and you make sure you get the last word. They create drama, and you respond with more drama. Before you realize it, you're no longer dealing with their behavior, you're participating in it. And that's exactly where they want you. Toxic people often thrive on emotional chaos. They may provoke arguments simply to get a reaction. They may exaggerate situations, twist your words, bring up old problems, or create unnecessary conflict because they know you'll engage. The more emotional you become, the easier it is for them to pull you deeper into the situation. So don't compete. Don't try to become louder than them. Don't try to insult them better. Don't try to embarrass them harder. Don't try to prove that you can be just as ruthless. You don't win by becoming a better version of the behavior you're trying to escape. You win by refusing to participate. Imagine someone starts an argument over something incredibly small. They accuse you. You explain yourself. They interrupt. You explain again. They bring up something completely unrelated. You defend yourself again. Suddenly, an issue that could have been resolved in 5 minutes has become a 2-hour battle. At some point, you have to recognize the pattern. Not every argument is actually a conversation. Some arguments are traps designed to keep you emotionally engaged. When you recognize that, you can simply step away. Say, "I'm not arguing about this," or "We can talk when we're both calm." Then disengage. No dramatic exit, no insults, no final speech, just distance. This doesn't mean you should avoid difficult conversations. Healthy relationships require communication. If someone brings up a legitimate concern, listen. If you've made a mistake, own it. If there's a problem that needs to be solved, solve it. The point is not to avoid conflict. The point is to avoid pointless conflict. There's a major difference. Healthy conflict moves toward understanding. Toxic conflict often moves in circles. You answer one accusation and another appears. You address one problem and suddenly 5 unrelated problems are introduced. You apologize for something you actually did wrong. But instead of resolving the issue, they use your apology as an invitation to attack you further. That's when you need to recognize that the goal may no longer be resolution. The goal may be control, and you don't have to participate. Another powerful move is refusing to compete for attention. Toxic people sometimes turn relationships into competitions. They want to know who is more successful, who gets more attention, who has more money, who looks better, who has more friends, who is more respected. Don't play. You don't need to prove that you're doing better than them. You don't need to show them how successful you are. You don't need to make them jealous. Your life isn't a scoreboard. The moment you stop competing, you become much harder to provoke. If they brag, let them brag. If they exaggerate, let them exaggerate. If they want everyone to notice them, let them have the spotlight. You don't need to fight for it. Your confidence should allow you to sit comfortably without needing to prove you're the most important person in the room. And there's something else that happens when you stop competing with drama. You preserve your energy. Drama is expensive. It consumes time. It consumes attention. It affects your mood. It distracts you from your goals. You can spend an entire day thinking about an argument that lasted 10 minutes. Meanwhile, the other person has already moved on. Don't give someone that much control over your mental space. When you feel yourself getting pulled into an argument, ask yourself, is this actually worth my energy? If the answer is no, walk away. Not every battle deserves your presence. Not every insult deserves a response. Not every accusation needs to be disproven. Not every person deserves access to your emotional energy. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing. And sometimes the strongest move is simply changing the subject, ending the conversation, or physically leaving the situation. You aren't running away. You're choosing where your energy goes, because real confidence isn't the ability to dominate every argument. It's the ability to remain calm when someone is desperate to pull you into one. So when a toxic person brings chaos into the room, don't match their energy. Lower yours. Stay calm. Speak slowly. Keep your answers short. Refuse unnecessary arguments. And if the conversation becomes disrespectful, leave. Let them have the drama. You have better things to build. Don't compete with chaos. Become the person chaos can't control. Because when you stop reacting to every provocation, toxic people eventually realize something important. They can create all the drama they want, but they can't force you to participate. 8. Respond to behavior, not promises. One of the biggest mistakes you can make with toxic people is believing what they promise, instead of paying attention to what they repeatedly do. Words are easy. Anyone can say, "I'm sorry." Anyone can say, "I'll change." Anyone can promise, "It won't happen again." But a promise means very little when the behavior never changes. Toxic people can sometimes become extremely convincing when they realize they're about to lose access to you. They apologize, they become emotional, they explain everything. They promise that they've learned their lesson, and because you want to believe the best in people, you give them another chance. Then, a few weeks later, you're dealing with the exact same behavior. The insults return, the manipulation returns, the disrespect returns, and you're left wondering why you believed them again. This is why you need to stop judging people primarily by what they say and start watching what they consistently do. If someone tells you they respect your boundaries but keeps crossing them, believe the behavior. If someone says they value your friendship but only contacts you when they need something, pay attention to the pattern. If someone says they care about your feelings but repeatedly uses your insecurities against you, their actions are giving you the answer. You don't have to call them a liar. You don't have to expose them. You don't even have to argue about it. Just observe. Behavior is evidence. Words are information. And when the two contradict each other, behavior deserves more weight. Think about someone who repeatedly betrays your trust. Every time you confront them, they say, "I promise I'll never do it again." You forgive them. Then it happens again. At some point, the issue isn't whether they know what they did wrong. They know. The issue is that knowing hasn't changed their behavior. And that's when you need to stop listening for the perfect apology and start looking for consistent change. Real change isn't something someone announces. You see it. Their behavior becomes different even when they aren't being watched. They respect your boundaries without needing to be reminded. They take responsibility without blaming you. They stop repeating the same behavior. They become consistent over time. That's what you should look for. And this doesn't mean you should become cynical and assume everyone is lying. Give people room to make mistakes. People genuinely can change, but don't confuse a temporary emotional reaction with transformation. Someone crying after hurting you doesn't automatically mean they've changed. Someone saying, "I'm sorry," doesn't automatically mean they'll behave differently. Someone promising to do better isn't the same as actually doing better. Give their actions time to prove it. There's also a powerful benefit to thinking this way. You stop getting emotionally trapped by promises. You don't have to spend weeks wondering whether someone really means what they said. You don't have to analyze every apology. You don't have to keep asking, "Do they actually care about me?" Watch what happens next. Time exposes consistency. If their behavior changes, you'll see it. If nothing changes, you'll see that too. This approach also helps you avoid becoming overly emotional when someone disappoints you. Instead of saying, "But you promised," you can simply recognize the pattern. You don't need to argue with reality. If someone repeatedly shows you who they are, accept the information. And remember, responding to behavior doesn't mean immediately cutting everyone off. Sometimes the appropriate response is simply adjusting your level of trust. Someone proves they're unreliable, stop depending on them for important things. Someone repeatedly gossips, stop sharing private information. Someone constantly creates drama, reduce your involvement. Someone repeatedly disrespects you, create distance. Your response should match the behavior. That's where discernment comes in. You don't have to punish people. You simply stop giving the same level of access to someone who has repeatedly demonstrated that they can't handle it. Think of trust like a ladder. People climb it through consistent behavior. They don't reach the top because they made one emotional promise, and they don't stay at the top if their actions repeatedly show they don't deserve the position. That's not cruelty, that's wisdom. So the next time someone makes a big promise after hurting you, don't rush to believe or reject them. Just watch, give them time, let their behavior speak. Because anyone can tell you what you want to hear when they're afraid of losing you, but consistency reveals what they actually value. Don't let someone's apology erase their pattern. Don't let promises blind you to repeated behavior. And don't judge someone by the person they claim they're becoming. Judge them by the person they consistently choose to be. Because when you stop responding to promises and start responding to patterns, manipulation becomes much harder. You become calmer, more selective, and much harder to fool. 9. Make your no boring. One of the most powerful things you can learn is how to say no without turning it into a debate. Toxic people often don't have a problem with your answer. They have a problem with the fact that they can't control it. So when you say no, they may start questioning you. Why not? What's your problem? Just do it this once. You've changed. If you really cared about me, you would. They aren't always looking for an explanation. They're looking for a weakness they can use to turn your no into a yes. That's why your no needs to become boring. No anger, no guilt, no long explanation, no defensive speech. Just a calm, simple answer. No, I can't. That doesn't work for me. I'm not doing that. And then stop. The less emotional energy you attach to your refusal, the less material they have to argue with. Imagine someone asks you to do something you don't want to do. You say, I can't. They ask, why? You give them 5 reasons. They challenge every reason. You explain another reason. They offer a solution to that reason. Now you're negotiating a decision you had already made. This is where people lose their boundaries. They think they need a reason that the other person agrees with. You don't. You can have a perfectly valid reason, and someone can still disagree with it. Your boundary doesn't become legitimate only after someone approves it. Sometimes the strongest response is simply, I understand, but my answer is still no. That's it. No argument, no hostility, no need to convince them. This is especially important with people who use guilt. They might say, after everything I've done for you, you're really going to say no to me? I thought you were my friend. You're being selfish. The goal is to make you uncomfortable enough that you abandon your decision. Don't. You can acknowledge their feelings without changing your boundary. I understand you're disappointed, but I'm still not able to do that. Then move on. You don't need to become cold. You just need to become comfortable with someone being disappointed by your decision. That's a major part of emotional maturity, because if you believe you must keep everyone happy, your boundaries will always be negotiable. Someone asks for your time. You say yes because you're afraid they'll be upset. Someone asks for money. You say yes because you don't want to look selfish. Someone wants access to your personal life. You give it because you're afraid of seeming secretive. Eventually, you become exhausted because you're constantly prioritizing other people's comfort over your own. A calm no changes that, and there's an important difference between being rude and being firm. Rudeness says, I don't care about you. A healthy boundary says, I respect you, but I'm still making my own decision. You don't need to insult someone to say no. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to make them feel small. You simply refuse what doesn't work for you. And the more consistently you do this, the easier it becomes. At first, saying no might feel uncomfortable. You may feel guilty. You may replay the conversation afterward. You may wonder if you were too harsh. But with practice, you start realizing something. Someone else's disappointment isn't automatically your responsibility. They are allowed to be disappointed. They are allowed to disagree. They are even allowed to be upset. But you are still allowed to say no. Toxic people often become more persistent when they realize your no can be worn down. So don't give them 10 different answers. Repeat yourself. I already answered. My decision hasn't changed. No, thank you. That won't work for me. Eventually, there is nothing left to negotiate, and that's what makes your no powerful. Not volume, not aggression, not intimidation, consistency. Your no should be so calm and predictable that people eventually stop trying to negotiate with it. You don't need to explain your entire life every time you decline something. You don't need to defend every boundary. You don't need permission to protect your time, energy, money, attention, or peace. So the next time someone pressures you after you've already said no, resist the urge to over-explain. Take a breath, stay calm, repeat yourself if necessary, then move on. Because when your no becomes boring, people eventually realize there is nothing to push against. And toxic people respect boundaries. They know they cannot negotiate away. Say no without anger. Say no without guilt. Say no without a speech. Sometimes the strongest boundary is simply a quiet, confident no. 10. Stop trying to expose them. One of the most powerful things you can do around toxic people is stop making it your mission to expose them. When someone has treated you badly, it's natural to want other people to know the truth. You want to prove what happened. You want to show the messages. You want to explain their behavior. You want everyone to finally see what you've been dealing with. But sometimes, trying to expose a toxic person keeps you connected to them long after you should have moved on. You're constantly talking about them, thinking about them, checking what they're saying, watching who believes them, trying to defend your reputation, and without realizing it, they've become the center of your life. Don't give them that much power. You don't have to convince everyone that someone is toxic. People eventually reveal themselves through patterns. A manipulative person can maintain an image for a while. They can charm people. They can tell convincing stories. They can make themselves look like the victim. But maintaining a false image requires consistency, and eventually their behavior starts contradicting their words. Let time do some of the work for you. Imagine someone mistreats you privately, but acts like a completely different person around everyone else. Your first instinct might be to tell everyone what they're really like. You might want to warn mutual friends. You might want to expose their lies publicly. But ask yourself, will this actually improve my life? If the answer is no, step back. You don't need to become their full-time investigator. You don't need to collect evidence just to prove you're right. And you certainly don't need to start a public war. There are situations where speaking up is necessary. If someone is genuinely harming others, threatening you, spreading serious false information, or creating a situation that requires intervention, protecting yourself and others matters. But that's different from trying to make everyone dislike someone because they hurt you. Know the difference between protecting yourself and seeking revenge. Protecting yourself says, I need distance. Seeking revenge says, everyone needs to know what they did. The first gives you freedom. The second keeps you emotionally attached. Toxic people sometimes thrive on this attention. If they realize they can provoke you into defending yourself constantly, they can keep the conflict alive. They may even deliberately create situations where you feel forced to respond. Don't take the bait. If someone lies about you, you don't always need to respond immediately. If someone misunderstands you, you don't always need to correct them. If someone wants to make you look bad, let your behavior speak over time. People who genuinely know you will judge you by your character, not by every rumor someone tells. And the people who are determined to misunderstand you may not be worth convincing anyway. This doesn't mean you should tolerate lies that seriously damage your life. If your reputation, career, safety, or important relationships are genuinely at risk, respond calmly and factually. But even then, avoid emotional warfare. State the facts. Provide evidence if necessary. Correct the misinformation. then step away. Don't turn your entire life into a campaign against another person. There's also something deeply freeing about realizing that you don't need everyone to know the truth. Sometimes you will be misunderstood. Sometimes someone will tell their version first. Sometimes people will believe them. And you have to be strong enough to survive that. Because if your peace depends on everyone seeing you as the good person, you're still giving other people control over your identity. You know what happened. You know how you behaved. You know why you made the decisions you made. That's enough in many situations. Let people observe you over time. Character has a way of revealing itself. The person who constantly creates conflict eventually creates conflict with someone else. The person who constantly lies eventually contradicts themselves. The person who constantly plays the victim eventually leaves a pattern. You don't always have to be the one who exposes it. Let them reveal themselves. Your job is to protect your peace and continue building your life. Stop checking whether they're talking about you. Stop asking mutual friends what they said. Stop monitoring their social media. Stop replaying every conversation. Stop planning the perfect response months after the argument is over. Every minute you spend trying to expose them is another minute you're giving them your attention. Take that energy back. Work on yourself. Build your future. Spend time with people who actually value you. And if someone asks why you've distanced yourself, you don't need to deliver a character assassination. You can simply say, "We don't have a healthy relationship, so I chose to create some distance." That's enough. No insults, no dramatic story, no campaign, just a decision. Because sometimes the strongest way to expose a toxic person is to stop participating in the environment where their toxicity thrives. Let their behavior speak. Let time reveal the pattern. And let your absence communicate what your arguments never could. You don't need to destroy someone's reputation to protect your own. Walk away, stay consistent, keep your character intact, and eventually, people will see what you saw. At the end of the day, you don't earn respect by becoming louder, colder, or more toxic than the people around you. You earn it by becoming harder to manipulate. Stop explaining everything. Stop reacting to every provocation. Stop chasing approval. Stop accepting disrespect just because you're afraid of losing someone. Your power comes from consistency. Say less, but mean what you say. Set boundaries and enforce them. Watch behavior instead of promises. Protect your private life. Build a life that doesn't revolve around other people's opinions. And when someone repeatedly crosses the line, be willing to walk away. You don't have to prove your strength. You don't have to expose everyone who hurt you. You don't have to win every argument. Sometimes the most powerful response is simply changing your behavior and removing your access. Because toxic people can only control you when you keep giving them something to control. So protect your peace, master your reactions, know your worth, and remember, the goal isn't to make toxic people fear you, it's to become someone they can no longer manipulate. Once they realize your silence isn't weakness, your boundaries aren't negotiable, and your presence isn't guaranteed, the entire dynamic changes. You don't need to demand respect. Your behavior will teach people how to treat you.